So, two short-range ballistic missiles are fired by North Korea early this morning, a move widely seen as a retaliation against the inaugural meeting of the South Korea-U.S. Nuclear Consultative Group. Now, what's on the North's mind? For more on the latest here on the Korean Peninsula, we're joined by Dr. Bruce Klingner. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Did you see the missile launches coming? I mean, is Wednesday's missile launch in a way surprising? And why two short-range ballistic missiles at this time?
Well, we've seen lots of North Korean missile launches in the last several years, so we may not know the exact day they're going to launch them or what type, but certainly they're going to continue to do so. And we always try to interpret whether it's a signal in response to a ongoing or upcoming U.S. or South Korean action, or whether it's developmental testing of a new weapon system or operational testing or unit testing of an existing missile. So, but the main thing is, regardless of the intention or the signal, is that it's yet another violation of UN Security Council resolutions, and it's another signal of defiance against the international community and the 11 UN resolutions which require North Korea not only to not do any ballistic missile launches, but also to abandon their nuclear and missile programs.
Right. We also have to talk about the U.S. service member crossing the inter-Korean border without authorization, right? The person is reportedly in North Korean custody. Now, what's likely to happen next? I mean, is there any past case that we can refer to?
There really, every time seems to be a unique case, and they're obviously very dire precedents and also less dire. The most dire, of course, is Otto Warmbier, who was tortured and then died in custody in North Korea.
Right.
And then there have been a number of cases of Americans that were seen as violating some North Korean law and were sentenced in a trial to extended, forced labor or extensive prison sentences. And that required extensive negotiations and sending a current or former senior level U.S. official. Other times there have been service members or Americans who just went into North Korea, most usually across the Yalu River, and they may be released within a few weeks or months. And that, I would think, would be more the case here. But whether this was a defection by the private or really desertion, certainly he's facing a lot of trouble if he does return to the United States even prior to this incident. And North Korea may simply just get rid of him and return him after questioning him and seeing whether he has any intelligence value.
Right. Wherever he goes, he's definitely at risk or at a problem at least. Now, Dr. Bruce, the thing is, tensions are already high here on the Korean Peninsula between the U.S. and North Korea. Now, how could events like this really influence Washington-Pyongyang relations at this moment?
Well, some have hoped that this could be a catalyst for discussion between the U.S. and North Korea. And Pyongyang has been rejecting all forms of dialogue, let alone negotiations, for several years. I don't think that's likely at a strategic level, but there will be discussions at what I would call a tactical level, just really dealing with the sergeant determining, or I'm sorry, the private determining his well-being. What are his intentions? Does he want to stay in North Korea? Does he want to return? That doesn't necessarily mean it'll lead to high-level negotiations, certainly on the nuclear issue. So, right now the focus will be on, finding out the details of why he did this, what his intentions are. But I think in and of itself, it's not likely to be a cause for increased tensions because he wasn't abducted. He was not detained for alleged crimes other than illegally entering the country.
Sure. Then, is there a possibility that the North may take advantage of this situation to get the upper hand?
Well, in the past, when it was, someone was arrested for a crime, in North Korean terminology, it can be, leaving a Bible behind, trying to proselytize a religion. It can be, ripping up a poster with Kim Jong-il's name on it, things that are seemingly meaningless in other countries, but is a high-level crime in North Korea. That it can be very serious and lead to these negotiations or even having to have a coerced apology and senior officials going to get him out. But in this case, it may be that we're just determining if he wants to stay and what his well-being are and what his intentions are. So clearly he went voluntarily and seemingly eagerly into North Korea.
Sure. Before we let you go, Dr. Bruce, let's talk about the submarine that arrived in Busan yesterday. How symbolic is this move? I mean, on the sidelines of holding the first meeting of the Nuclear Consultative Group, how do you read this symbol?
It's more a sign of reassurance to South Korea than of deterrence to North Korea. One of these ballistic missile capable submarines, I mean, they are effective when they're out hiding under the water. Having it in port, it's unlikely to launch missiles, and it clearly we know now North Korea knows where it is. So it's not really deterring North Korea when it's in port, but it's a very visible sign of the U.S. commitment to the defense of South Korea. And it's part of the promise that the United States made to Korea, not only that we would increase the number and the pace of rotational deployment of strategic assets, but also a number of other actions that the U.S. is taking to try to reassure Seoul of our extended deterrence guarantee, including the Nuclear Consultative Group.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us today, Dr. Bruce. You have a good night.
Thank you very much.